I ran through the servers one last time before the meeting. Everything was fine. No glitches, no problems. The storm outside was picking up. Wind howling like it had a bone to pick with the world. But inside, I had control. That's the thing about being the guy who keeps everything running. When the chaos is on the outside, you don't let it touch you. 15 years I've been working for Jason. 15 years of putting in the time, doing the work, making sure nothing went wrong. He was the face of the company, the owner, but I was the backbone. I'd handled everything: servers, systems, legal, contracts. The guy could barely show up unless there was a new golf course in town. But today was different. Jason called a meeting, and the knot in my stomach told me everything I needed to know. It wasn't a surprise when he dropped the bombshell. Ryan, his son, was taking over operations. Just like that, the future of the company was going to some kid who'd never had to get his hands dirty. I wasn't going anywhere, Jason said, just transitioning to a new role, senior compliance officer, the paperwork guy, the guy who made sure all the boxes were checked. Like that was something worth celebrating. Jason barely looked at me when he said it, barely even acknowledged the years I'd spent building this place. Ryan, on the other hand, sat there with that smug little grin on his face, acting like he'd already won, like he was the new king of this rotting little castle. It hit me harder than the storm outside. Betrayal, sharp and cold. Jason didn't get it. He didn't see how far he was pushing me out, but I wasn't going to blow up in front of everyone, not yet. I'm about to find out just how much Jason underestimated me, but for now, I'll play the part. I'll nod, smile, and pretend everything's fine. Because what Jason doesn't know yet is that I'm not the guy who gets pushed out without a plan. Not this time. Jason's voice drones on, all fake enthusiasm and corporate buzzwords. He pats Ryan on the back like he's just won the goddamn lottery. And I can feel my jaw tightening with every word. Ryan's the future of this company, Jason says, as if he's announcing the second coming. We need new blood, new ideas, and I'm confident he'll take us to the next level. I'm stuck in this room, trying to keep my face neutral, but inside, I'm burning. I've been here for 15 years, putting in the hours, fixing problems before anyone even knew they existed. And now Jason's acting like I'm a relic from the past, something to be tucked away in a drawer, forgotten. Ryan doesn't even bother looking up from his phone, not once. He's got that smug little smirk plastered on his face, like he already owns the place, like I'm the one who's irrelevant. He's never done a single day of real work in his life. Hell, he doesn't even know how to reset a server when it crashes, but here he is, acting like the new king of the castle. I could feel the blood rushing to my face, my head pounding, the whole room closing in on me. Jason turns to me like he's trying to reassure me, but I see the calculation in his eyes. Matt's not being fired, he says, his voice thick with that fake sweetness. No, we're just transitioning him into a new role. Senior compliance officer, right, Matt? He looks over at me, almost like he's hoping I'll play along. Ryan's still playing with his phone, totally unaware of the storm brewing just under my skin. Jason goes on about how I'll still be around, just in a different capacity, like it's a promotion, like it's something to be excited about. But I can feel the rage building, like a wave that's about to crash. Jason hands me the new job description. It's a piece of paper, just like all the others that had my name on them over the years. Signatures, contracts, plans. But this one felt like a weight around my neck. I took it from him, my fingers tight around the edges, trying to keep from ripping it in half. I look at the page, but all I can see is the years I've given to this place. All the times I've fixed what nobody else could see needed fixing. The systems, the contracts, the clients, all the things Jason's been selling to investors like they were his ideas. He's been taking credit for everything I've built, while I'm just sitting here, being told that I'm not good enough anymore, that I'm some old part of the machine that's not needed. I could feel the heat in my chest, the pressure in my head. Jason doesn't even understand. He doesn't know what he's doing to me, to everything I've worked for. And Ryan doesn't even care. They've already written me off. But here's the thing. They're not done with me yet. And neither am I. I may be sidelined, but I'm not out. Not by a long shot. There's no way I'm going to let them get away with this. They've underestimated me, and I'm going to make them regret it. But for now, I have to play along. I have to pretend that this job, this insult of a promotion, is something I wanted. I stand up slowly, the paper still in my hand, my fingers gripping it so tight I think it might tear. Jason claps me on the back, a fake, congratulatory gesture. And I just nod, my lips tight. He thinks he's doing me a favor. Ryan thinks he's got it made. They're both wrong. I'm done pretending. I'm done being invisible. And when the time comes, when I've got everything in place, I'm going to take this company down with a smile on my face. They move me into a tiny, cramped office by the loading dock. It's a joke, really. The walls are peeling, the carpet smells like mildew, and the fluorescent lights buzz overhead, flickering like they're just as tired of this place as I am. But I don't care. I'm not here to make the office pretty. I'm here to dig in. I pull up the old records, everything stacked high in boxes, gathering dust in corners. My eyes scan through contracts, system blueprints, technical documents, stuff that's been sitting around for years. And with each page I flip, it hits me harder. Jason's entire operation, everything he's built, is built on my work. Every damn system, every decision. My name is on every contract, every piece of software, every deal. I'm the one who kept it all together. I start making a list of all the legal and contractual ties I've got with this place. The agreements that have been signed, the systems I built, the tech that I've kept running. The more I dig, the more I realize how deep I'm embedded in this company. Without me, this whole thing would have crumbled years ago. Jason doesn't get it. He has no idea how much of a house of cards he's built. How much is riding on the crap I've done. Ryan's already screwing things up. I can see it in the way he's making decisions without understanding the systems, the way he tinkers with things, thinking he's improving them, but only making them worse. He doesn't know what he's doing, and Jason's too busy playing golf or making deals with investors to notice. He thinks Ryan's going to save the company, but Ryan's already sinking it, and I'm just sitting here watching it happen. I could step in, I could fix it, but I'm not going to. Not yet. Not until I'm ready. I don't need to be the hero anymore. I don't need to fix their mess. I've been pushing papers, doing the dirty work for so long, but I'm done with that. I'm done being the guy behind the curtain. Now it's time for them to see what happens when the machine starts to break down without me. I lean back in the creaky chair, staring at the list I've started, the leverage I've got, the strings I can pull. Jason and Ryan think they've won. They think I'm done. But they have no idea what's coming. I've got one last move to make, one final thing I need to do to make sure they regret ever pushing me aside. I don't have to burn this place down all at once. I just need to watch it catch fire, piece by piece, and when it does, I'll be the one standing in the ashes, ready to walk away. Ryan started making changes to the server room, like he owned the place. I heard about it first from Mike, one of the lead techs. He came by shaking his head, telling me Ryan was messing with the temperature settings on the servers, trying to save some power, or whatever excuse he came up with. I didn't need to see it to know it was a mistake. These systems were delicate. Messing with the settings could fry the entire setup if you didn't know what you were doing. But Jason was too busy playing golf with his buddies to care about the mess Ryan was making. And I spent hours documenting each of Ryan's screw-ups, logging every change he made, every time he ignored the warnings in the maintenance logs. The kid was too reckless to realize what he was doing, but I wasn't there to save him. The first big mistake came when I saw him manually stop a generator mid-cycle. He claimed it was to save fuel, but I knew better. You don't shut down a generator like that, not in the middle of its cycle. The whole thing could short out, destroy the equipment. But Ryan didn't care. He just pressed the button and then moved on to whatever else he was improving. Mike came to me after that, looking worried. He knew I had the power to stop it. He looked at me like I was going to rush in, like I was going to fix it, step in and be the hero. I shook my head. Let him fail. Mike frowned, but he didn't argue. He knew deep down that there was no point in saving Ryan. No point in saving any of them. I wasn't here to stop the disaster. I was here to let it happen. I was going to watch them destroy everything, piece by piece. And when the dust settled, I'd be the one standing with all the evidence of their stupidity. Ryan didn't know it yet, But he'd already dug himself into a hole. Every wrong decision he made, every shortcut he took, was making the walls of that hole a little deeper. He was too naive to see it, too full of himself to care. But I wasn't worried, not yet. When the whole thing collapsed, when Jason and Ryan finally realized what they'd done, I'd be long gone. But they wouldn't know the half of it. They wouldn't know how I'd let it all happen, how I'd sat back and let them bury themselves. They wouldn't know that I was the one who'd given them the rope to hang themselves with. I wasn't here to stop the disaster. I was here to make sure it took them down, and I was going to be the one to walk away unscathed. As the days went by and the mistakes piled up, I started to feel like I had all the leverage I needed. Jason might be calling the shots now, but he didn't realize how much he depended on me. He was relying on me for everything. His investors, his clients, his contracts. All of it was built on the foundation I'd laid for this place. But I wasn't on his team anymore, not after everything he did to me. I'd started making calls behind the scenes. Gary, a buddy of mine from the hospital network, was in the know. He'd always trusted me with the server systems, always relied on my expertise when things went sideways. And now, as I watched the disaster unfold from the sidelines, he was watching too. I wasn't the only one who saw how shaky things were at Loner. Jason and Ryan's incompetence was no secret to anyone who really paid attention. I dropped a few hints to Gary, nothing too blatant, just enough to get him interested. Told him how messy things were getting at Loner. I could hear the interest in his voice when he called me back a few days later. He was in the middle of setting up a new facility, and he needed someone who knew the ropes, someone who knew systems inside and out. He didn't have to tell me twice. As we talked, I started writing everything down, all the failures, all the risks, everything I had documented over the last few weeks, all the things I'd been silently watching unfold. The more I wrote, the clearer it became. I wasn't just going to walk away with a new job. I was about to walk away with the proof I needed to burn Jason's operation to the ground. The thing was, I didn't even have to work that hard to bring Jason down. He was doing it for me. Ryan's screw-ups were just the beginning, and I had all the evidence. The way things were going, Jason wouldn't even see it coming. And when the time was right, I'd be the one who had the last laugh. I'd be the one who walked out with everything, while Jason and his precious son were left scrambling to pick up the pieces. The phone call with Gary went on for a while, and when we wrapped it up, I felt like I'd just stepped onto a better path. But then, just as I was getting ready to hang up, Gary said something that made my stomach drop. "You know," he said, "I've got an offer on the table, but it comes with a catch. You'd have to get some things in order on your end before you come over here. Clean up a few loose ends at Loner. I trust you, but I need to know I'm not walking into a mess." I took a breath, feeling the weight of his words. It wasn't exactly a surprise. I knew I'd have to handle things carefully. But it wasn't going to be that simple. There was still the matter of making sure I had everything lined up. I couldn't afford to screw this up. I sat back in my chair, staring at the paperwork, knowing I was one step closer. If I played this right, I wouldn't just get the job. I'd walk away with all the proof, and Jason's house of cards would come crashing down without me ever having to lift a finger. The fire marshal got the anonymous tip, and I knew exactly what that would mean. I had all the information I needed to make sure Jason's little empire came crashing down. Without a licensed operator, Loner was in violation of multiple regulations. I made sure to mention all the changes Ryan had made to the system, every single one of them. The critical ones that were just waiting to cause a disaster. I didn't leave anything out. By the time I walked into the office the next morning, I could already feel the tension in the air. Jason was scrambling, walking up and down the hallway like he was expecting something. He didn't know yet, but I did. The fire marshal was on his way. The investors were about to show up for the big presentation, and Jason was too busy trying to put on a show to realize he was about to be blindsided. He saw me and tried to act like everything was fine, all smiles, but there was a nervous edge to his voice when he asked, "Matt, can you come in here for a minute?" I followed him into his office, and before he could say anything else, I could see the panic starting to creep into his eyes. "We've got a problem," he said, running a hand through his hair. "The fire marshal is coming through here this morning for an inspection. You know, sign off on some of the new changes, just so we're ready for the investors." I didn't say a word at first. He had no idea. No idea that the very thing he was trying to cover up was already being exposed. "You want me to fix it?" I asked, my voice calm, almost detached. I let the words hang in the air for a moment. "You want me to sign papers that'll just cover up the mess, make it look like everything's fine?" Jason didn't have an answer for that. His face was tight, like he was waiting for me to say yes, to clean up his mess. But I wasn't that guy anymore. "I'm done, Jason," I said, and I could see the shock flicker in his eyes. "I've already got a new job lined up. I'm not fixing this for you." For a moment, there was a silence, thick and heavy, before Jason tried to recover. "Matt, listen, this isn't the time. You don't understand. The investors are coming. This could make or break everything. If we don't fix this, I didn't let him finish. "You should have thought of that before you pushed me out. This mess is yours now. I'm not your cleanup crew anymore." Jason's face went pale, and he turned to leave, probably to try and smooth things over before the fire marshal arrived, but it was too late. I already knew how this was going to end. The fire marshal walked in not long after, and behind him. The investors all looking confused, their smiles slowly fading as they took in the scene. Jason was standing there like a deer caught in headlights, trying to pull himself together. But it was too late. The marshal didn't waste any time. He turned to Jason, holding up his clipboard. "I'm afraid I'm going to have to shut this operation down." Jason's jaw clenched, but there was no point in trying to make excuses. Not now. Not when everything he'd been selling was about to come crashing down. The marshal didn't blink. "You've got multiple violations here. No licensed operator, numerous safety issues, and some serious system failures. I'm afraid we can't allow this facility to continue operating until everything's up to code. And that means shutting it down." The investors started murmuring amongst themselves, their confusion turning into concern. Jason was stammering now, trying to explain, trying to make it sound like it wasn't that bad. But the fire marshal wasn't having it. He just turned to one of the investors and said, "You might want to reschedule your meeting. There won't be any presentations today." I stood there, just outside the office, watching it all unfold. Jason's world was unraveling in real time, and I barely had to lift a finger to make it happen. Everything Jason had built, it was done, and I'd pulled the trigger. As Jason stood there, flustered and helpless, I couldn't help but feel a little satisfaction. He had no idea how far I'd gone to make this happen, and the best part, he still wouldn't know the full extent of it. All he'd ever know was that I wasn't the guy who cleaned up his mess anymore. I was the guy who brought it all down. By the time the dust settled, Jason was desperate. He came to me, his eyes wide with that panic I hadn't seen in years. He was all apologies, trying to fix the unfixable. "Matt, come on," he pleaded, voice strained. "You can't just leave like this. You're the reason this place held together for so long. You're the one who made it work. I need you. I'll pay you more. I'll give you more power. Everything you've wanted, you've got it." I stood there, watching him squirm, and I could see the fear in his face. He wasn't worried about losing me as a person. No, Jason was scared of losing everything he'd built. Without me, he had nothing. But it didn't matter anymore. The deal with Gary was already signed. I wasn't going back. I shook my head slowly, a small, satisfied smile playing at the edges of my lips. "It's too late, Jason. I've already got something better lined up. I'm done." Jason's face twisted in disbelief, like he couldn't comprehend that I wasn't falling for it this time. "Matt, you don't have to do this. Please, don't walk away." But I was already walking. Mike, the tech lead, and Sarah, the billing girl, were waiting for me at the door. They didn't even look back at Jason as we left. They knew what was coming. They were tired of being dragged down by Ryan's incompetence and Jason's endless blind spots. They weren't going to stick around and watch the whole thing burn, not when they knew it was already over. We walked out of that building, the sounds of Jason's frantic voice fading behind us. For a second, I thought about what it would have been like if I'd stayed, tried to fix things. But then I realized, no, it wasn't my job to clean up his mess anymore. I'd done enough, and now it was time to take back my life. The three of us got in the car, and I pulled out of the parking lot, leaving the chaos behind. The storm clouds still hung heavy in the sky, but there was a feeling of freedom in the air, one I hadn't felt in a long time. Jason's business was done. The investors would pull out. The fire marshal's report would keep them on lockdown for weeks. And Ryan? He'd never be able to recover from the mess he'd made. I wasn't just walking away from a dead-end job. I was reclaiming my life, my dignity, everything I should have had years ago. The road stretched out ahead, and as I drove away from that place, I couldn't help but feel a surge of satisfaction. The dust would settle, sure, but I'd be the one on top, the one with the new job, the better future. And Jason and Ryan, they'd never know how much I'd taken from them, how I'd set this whole thing in motion and walked away without ever looking back.